You mentioned Task Manager. Obviously, we have to talk about this. The legendary program that you created, the Windows Task Manager. Tell me every detail of how you built it. What is Windows Task Manager?
So Windows Task Manager is a way to go in and find out which apps on your system are using the computer, using the hardware, using the CPU, using the memory, and which ones might be using too much or locked up or going crazy, and it gives you the ability to terminate and kill those ones. So it's an inspection and a fixing tool.
Yeah, it lists all the processes. I mean, it's a legendary piece of software. It's crazy. I mean, you just take it for granted. It's like the start menu, right?
Yeah.
It's like genius.
Well, I had the great fortune of working on a lot of things that people are familiar with. And Task Manager was one of those side projects that I started as something that I wanted for myself and eventually came in-house. So I started writing it at home, and I got kind of the basics up and running. And I was using, I think it's HKey Performance in the registry to get the stats because I didn't have access to the internal APIs because I was working from home, and I don't call those if I'm working from home.
Mm-hmm.
And when I brought it in-house, then I was able to call things like NT-query system information or NT-query process information and get the real answers very quickly, which enabled it to become a very fast and responsive app. So people have come to rely on it because I wrote it to be as reliable as possible. I wasn't worried about the features. There was a basic set of functionality that I wanted in there, and I got everything I wanted, but I wanted it to be really robust. And so and small. And the original was like 87K.
Okay, can you speak to what it takes to build a piece of software like that doesn't freeze?
You don't assume much, right? If you're going to call the shell to run an app, well, that could be a network path that's on a TCP IP share that takes 90 seconds to time out. So anytime you do any kind of API call like that could take time, you're going to wind up doing it on a separate thread. And so the app becomes a little bit more complex because everything is multi-threaded.
Okay, so what programming language were you working in?
C.
So this was for Windows NT?
Yes.
Okay.
So this shipped initially in NT4.
Okay, so what are some interesting details about this program? Because you have to get it as simple as possible, but also as robust as possible. What are some interesting optimizations, for example, you had to implement?
There's a couple of things that are a little hardcore now. I'm surprised I did. Like, I didn't want to link to the C runtimes at all. So I made sure never to call a runtime call, and I didn't link to them. And that saved me whatever the C runtime is, 96K or something. So, it almost doubled the size of the app if you just touched any C call. So I was careful not to do that. But then I was actually writing in C++, which is C with objects more than anything. But in order to get it to work, I had to go through and call all the object constructors manually from the dispatch table and stuff because you don't have the runtimes to do it for you. So you're working with a compiler that doesn't have its runtime, and I don't want to rat hole on the technical issues, but it's a lot of extra work to get it to work. But when you do, it's incredibly small and tight.
That's about the size of the program. What are some interesting aspects of tracking down like every process and how much CPU usage is in that process?
One of the cooler things that I saw is, I don't want to say I invented Hamming code, but I kind of invented Hamming code without knowing Hamming code existed. So every column and every row in Task Manager has a bit on whether it's become dirty or not. And then I can look basically the same way Hamming code looks in your X and Y columns to find out which rows have changed, go through and find out which ones actually need to be repainted. So Task Manager is super efficient, and it works in concert with the list view control, which provides that functionality to go through and repaint as little as an individual cell that changes from frame to frame. So it can paint very fast, it can resize very smoothly. And resizing was probably my biggest personal goal with that app. So you can size it to any size and it still works. And even if you have 32 CPUs, which wasn't possible in the day, it will draw, I think, only 8 graphs and then it wraps, but it still works today. So I'm kind of proud of that.
It's just incredible. You've gotten a chance to sort of observe the evolution of Task Manager. In some ways, it really hasn't changed much. Maybe there's some prettier aspects to it that fit into the whatever version of Windows it's in, but it's really basically the same thing.
The functionality is very same. The reporting is more because they've added GPU and thermals and things like that, which is really nice to have. And we didn't have that ability in the day, so.
I mean, what can you say? Do you know about, was there any refactoring done, or is it basically the same code?
As far as I know, the original code's still mostly all there. So there are layers of drawing code and dark mode code and whatever else, XML schema code that goes on top of that makes it 4 megabytes instead of 87K. But that's the world we live in, so.
Yeah, it's one of those pieces of software you create and just stay once it's there. It's really like the start menu. And then I'm sure if you remove it, people will just lose their mind.
Yeah, it might be locked in for a while on that one.
Yeah.
It might be good.